HarperAudio Australia presents The Modern Guide to Sex, written and read by Georgia Grace. Dedicated to everyone who learnt about pleasure from the showerhead. Introduction. How do you feel? I ask this of every person who sits across from me for our first session together. The answer is always the same: nervous. Clients come to me for help with their sex concerns. Often, they've never spoken about it with anyone before, let alone with a complete stranger. They're worried they're unfixable, or broken, or abnormal. They might have tried a few things over the years, but have finally decided to see a professional about it. And now, they're nervous, and I can see it in their bodies too. Their posture is tight and small, their breath shallow, gaze averted, voice wavering. And maybe you feel that way too. So before we go any further, how do you feel to be here, to be with me and this book? How do you feel physically, mentally, emotionally, and sexually? Perhaps you're listening to this book because you've never been taught about pleasure and you want some tools. Or maybe you can't shut off distracting thoughts during sex. Maybe you want to have your first ever orgasm, or you're in a long-term relationship and your partner has voiced a concern and now you're worried you're incompatible. Maybe sex is already great and you want to make it even better. Or maybe you're a self-proclaimed sex freak and your bookshelf is a slut for sex ed. Regardless of what brought you to this book, I'm glad you're here. You are not alone in the questions you have about sex. In fact, rarely does a sex question surprise me. I've seen, heard, and experienced a lot. And I've noticed that we are all more alike than we may think or want to believe. There are differences in what turns us on, what sparks anxiety, what intrigues or disgusts us. But a few things I know for sure. At some point, we've all had a sex question. We've all wondered if a desire was normal, and we've all been confused by our bodies. As I was growing up, I didn't always get sex. My attraction to all people, regardless of their gender, was disorienting. But I've always been curious about sex. Sex ed was limited and my friends knew as little as I did. The internet offered 10 tips to blow his mind and not much else. Books only just scratched the surface and largely focused on cis heterosexual experiences, and trial and error only got me so far. Like many of us, I didn't receive the accurate, sex-positive, pleasure-focused, and inclusive information I so desperately wanted. Then I discovered the field of somatic sexology. It's a therapeutic practice that explores human sexuality through an awareness of the mind and the body, and I wanted to be a part of the network of practitioners helping people. So I ditched my corporate job and I studied to become a certified sex and relationship practitioner and somatic therapist. I've been working in private practice for 8 years, and every day I support individuals, couples, and groups to become more aware of their bodies, sex, and sexuality. I do a fair bit of work outside the therapy room too. I'm the co-founder of Normal, a sexual wellness company. I'm also a writer and speaker, and over the years I've worked to create dozens of accessible educational courses and resources. My job, and the intention of this book, is to create a safe space for inquiry, whilst working through something edgy. It's to equip you with the foundational tools for great sex and relationships, and offer information and practices that people often assume they should just know, despite most of us not being afforded the opportunity to learn. I've observed how simple yet effective tools can radically shift how my clients think and feel about sex. On many occasions, I've seen this change happen in just a 1-hour session. They leave knowing a fulfilling sex life is possible. It's not a quick fix, and they have work to do in between sessions, but I hold the hope for them until they can hold it for themselves. The most rewarding part of my work is seeing how the client who came into my practice feeling small can leave feeling regulated, safe, and with hope. Not everyone can get into session with a practitioner, and there are many barriers to accessing help for their particular concern or question. While I'm not suggesting this book should be a substitute for therapy, perhaps it will provide you with a few tools that you can turn to if and when you're ready. About the book. My approach. This book has a lot of information in it. You may have light bulb moments as you're listening, or you may feel validated by how
Sample complete. Ready to continue?